Lesson number 24 on the series, The Desert Lessons. 6 more lessons to go, and we'll be bringing this series to its close, never to be revisited again, to be placed in the Final Movements archive. And what a journey it has been. I tell you, friends, I have been blessed. I was out of the country the other day, and I tell you something. I was at a church, and I was just greeting people. Half of them I would say all of them I didn't even know, but apparently they knew me. And a man walked up to me and he said, "Desert Lessons." And I guess he was watching, and trust me, where he was, I didn't even know they even had electricity. But it just shows you the extent of this particular series. We are on the Androgynous, and this has taken 4 parts. And we're going to definitely bring this study, 4 parts, to its close today. Our thematic text for this series has been Romans 15 verse 4. The Apostle Paul, as he reflected back on the struggles of ancient history, their plight, he said this: "For whatsoever things are written aforetime are written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures, we might have" what? We might have hope. And friends, we need some hope? We need hope in these days of hopelessness, Nathan. We need to have some hope. And then we have this to encourage us as we reflect over ancient Israel's past. We are told that we have nothing to fear for the future, except we shall forget the way the Lord has led us and his teachings in our past history. We have been admonished over and over that at least once per week we should make time in this time-consuming, this busy world, to reflect, to rehearse, to meditate, to contemplate on Psalms 105, Psalms 106, and 1 Corinthians chapter 10. Why? Because these 3 passages, they rehearse the history of ancient Israel. We have been focusing on the word androgyny, and it really means a state of being neither specifically feminine or masculine, a combination of feminine and masculine characteristics. And here are some pictorial of what androgyny looks like. There are some synonyms we've discussed that kind of hover around this word, this dubious, dark, dangerous word, androgyny. Words like bisexual, transsexual, unisex, cross-sexual, and unisexual. All these are words that cluster around this bad word, androgyny, which should not even be named in the Christian's vocabulary. Once they left Egypt, God told Israel through Moses in Leviticus 18, we're just reviewing, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, "Speak unto the children of Israel, and unto them, saying, I am the Lord thy God, the Lord thy God." He says, "Now after the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do. And after the doings of the land of Canaan, whither I shall bring ye, do not, neither shall ye walk in their ordinances." God said, listen, Egypt was in, don't regress back to Egypt. And as you go forward, don't pick up the bad habits that these pagan nations will do. Israel, based on Acts, were supposed to be light. Paul says, light to the Gentile world. They were in darkness. And we've discussed that Israel was always surrounded, compassed by heathen nations, and not only sought their destruction, but they sought to counter and oppose the plain, "Thus saith the Lord," and also to go contrary as to what God wanted to teach them. Among the ancient societies, Israel alone, we learned, Israel alone took a stand against subjects like bestiality, fornication, adultery, homosexuality, cross-gender and unisex apparel, or even nakedness, wearing ornaments and jewelry. We're going to talk about these ornaments in an upcoming lecture. But Israel alone, based on God's direction, took a firm stand against this. While they were in the wilderness, we learned that Moses gave them a text, and we've discovered that this text, it has really been a rock of offense. Should be a rock of defense, really, but for many are offended at this text, and they stumble at the word. Peter says, being disobedient, brothers and sisters. The text says that a man ought not wear that which pertains to a woman, or a woman rather, Neither shall a man put on woman's garment, for all that do so are an abomination unto the Lord thy God. Friends, we learned that this text, as we examine the text, we looked at it historically, linguistically, contextually, exegetically, theologically. We've examined it sociologically. Now we're going to move into the contemporary and personally. After I've learned all of this, am I going to continue, or I'm going to ask the good Lord to help me to be obedient? We've also discussed that there are some practical things that one must consider. These are questions that were posed in a chat group. Not, I understand, I see, I hear, but what about exercise? We're going to cover that today. What about gardening, yard work? What about hiking? What about certain jobs? Are you trying to tell me? What are you saying? We're going to cover all of these because we do serve a fear God. Very fear God. We've discussed that as we consider the issue of dress, that we must not go to the extremes. We must avoid the leftists, which let everything hang out. Do it. It's your thing. Do what you want to do. You run things. Love of God, that leftist theology. And then we must avoid the rightist theology that think that we can do these things and we can be saved by doing them. No, we must take the center approach. And friends, I want to say this, and I'm gonna continue to avow this, that we are not saved by works. Let me say it again. We are not saved by works. We are saved by grace through faith, solely by the vicarious sacrifice, the merits of our wounded Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We cannot eat, drink, dress, preach, sing, evangelize our way to heaven. Works do come into play. We're not saved by works. We're saved by a relationship with Jesus Christ. However, the works do testify that the faith is genuine. And it is true. There'll be many people who will be lost, as you will discover during the millennium, who ate right, drank right, slept right. They preached the right thing. But friends, they did not have a corresponding faith. Turn the card over. You're going to have many people who are lost because they did not do those things which were pleasing in the sight of the Lord. And when it comes onto the issue of dress, I know it's very hard and it's very challenging, especially for the ladies. But I want to tell you, all things are possible to him that believeth. And that God is able, if you really and truly desire to glorify God in your attire, there is grace, there is strength available for you to do so, brothers and sisters. Let us not become discouraged or even disheartened. We have all sinned and we all have our struggles. I may not have this particular struggle, but hey, trust me, I have my Achilles heel, I have my struggles. And so we're not here to condemn or to criticize. We're here to build up. We're here to strengthen. I'm here, friends, to edify you in what the ways of the Lord are. So don't become discouraged. I believe that you can gain the victory over this, as many others have gained the victory. And we're told, friends, that when humanity grabs hold of divinity, we're told that humanity does not sin. Humanity can then carry out the requirements of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We've also discovered, friends, that the reason why Moses wrote that text, it came from the situation of the Pt.4 apostasy, the apostasy at the banks of Jordan, where they were worshiping a Moabite deity, Mount Peor. It was a double-sex deity. That was where many Bible scholars believed that triggered Moses to write, under the inspiration of God, to write this, lay it up in the side of the ark. That's where the spirit of prophecy was for successive or preceding generation that should come after him. And friends, this text has echoed. It has reverberated down through the corridors of time. And it finds our way now at our doorsteps, looking at the coming of Jesus, waiting for his coming, that we ought not put on that which pertaineth to a man or a woman, vice versa. Now, friends, we're going to be moving into the final segment. And I want to prepare you for this study. You know, truth is never sent to embarrass people. Truth is sent to make you free. And I tell you something, out of all people groups who should really appreciate freedom, it should be black people. This message is not sent to criticize or to condemn. As a matter of fact, I really wished I didn't have to teach it. As a matter of fact, when you read the councils, it should be the mothers of Israel. If the mothers in Israel taught their daughters, mainly, then we wouldn't have to have preachers and teachers getting up, male preachers teaching women how to dress. It just seems like an oxymoron kind of context, but it has been neglected, and so the lot falls sometimes on the preachers, the evangelists, to instruct the people of God in the ways of righteousness. So don't get upset with me. Just pray for the preacher. Amen. All right, let's begin now our paragraph. We lock the house to protect what is inside by keeping people out. Similarly, Christians should always, at all times, dress modestly, decently, to protect and preserve decency and self-respect, but most of all, to give God glory. Clothes can invoke intimate responses, our deepest feelings of love, the passionate expression of our sexuality, the revelation of our inner being. Friends, when we think about clothes, it speaks to us. And it's speaking very loudly. Mary Quant was a sex diva in terms of trendy apparel, and she came on the scene in the early 60s, late 60s, mid 70s, early 70s. Mary Quant, and the author says now, the article says that she is the mother of the miniskirt and Britain's most successful designer of women's ready-to-wear clothes. Says that her aim in inventing the miniskirt is to dress women so men would feel like tearing the wrapping off. Have mercy. What kind of woman is this with her cougar-looking self? She designed clothes to shock because she believes if the clothes don't make you notice them, I think you're a waste of money. Profound. She coined the decorum, good taste is death, vulgarity, life. When asked, what is the point of fashion? Where is it leading? Mary Quant promptly replied, sex. There it is, friends. Need I say any more? Let's take our lessons now, and we're filling in the blanks in some cases, not a lot this Lord's Day. We're doing more reading. Question number 1 now says now, how many styles of dress did God show Ellen G. White in vision? Now, friends, get the context now. We are in the mid-1800s. 1844 has come and gone. The church is now established. Ellen White now has been certified as a bona fide prophetess. The church has accepted her visions, her counsels as a prophet. She goes into vision sometimes for 4 to 12 hours. And she saw things. She even saw Jesus at one time. And when she came out of vision, now she's now relating what, now friends, you must understand this. This is what God, Jehovah, the self-existent one, is now communicating to this woman. This is not something opinionated. Now, while she was in vision, the Lord gave her, follow me now, the answer is three different styles of dress that people were grappling with that would confront the Adventist church in her dispensation at the end of time. There were 3. Follow me now. Mrs. White wrote about 3 dresses. Wrote about 3 dress of companies of women as as they had been presented to her in vision. This is in Review and Herald, October 8, 1867. Look at the time frame, friends. We are about 20-something years now into past 1844. We were established in 1863. So the church is now fully established. The time frame is very, very important. We're midway the 18th century, getting ready now to peep over into the 19th century. Is that clear? Now, the first style of dress that she saw in vision, fill it in now. Remember, we talked about being the left, the right, and the center. Now, what she saw, the first was the extremely, I would say the extremely right. Right, this was the the extremely long dress. We will call it, where I'm from, they call it a frock. That's a Jamaican colloquial term. Looked like a wedding dress. But this was how women dressed in the 18th century. And a little bit in the 19th century. And in the 17th century, it was almost a Victorian style of dress. What we would wear to the wedding, this is what they wore on a daily basis. Now you must understand, friends. Look at the time frame now, right? If we're in 1876, we are about 100 years. We were coming out of the Dark Ages, so we have not been too removed from the Dark Ages. One of the most darkest part in the history of civilization. It was said there's not even one invention that came out of the Dark Ages apart from the printing press was worth noting. It was dark mentally, spiritually, financially, morally, from scientifically, medically. It was dark. So 1800, we've just come out of the Dark Ages now, and even this kind of dress, based on today's iconography, was very dark. The extremely long dress. Now, this is what it looked like, friends. This is what women wore. And to put this on, boy, it was like putting on a football suit. You ever seen football athletes? Man, they put on that. They needed help to put this stuff on. It was not, you're talking about an hour getting dressed. Lord, they had to get dressed from in the morning to get out of the house. Literally. Right? Now, she comment now in Review and Herald. She says now, in vision now, the first were of fashionable length, burdening the limbs, impeding the step, sweeping the street, and gathering its filth. You talk about drainage system. Hello. Never heard of. The evil result of which I have fully stated, this class who were slaves to fashion appeared feeble and languid. They were sickly. This brought about sickness and early death and demise. And as God looked down from his holy habitation, he said, no, that can't work. That can't work. And so Ellen White saw this, and this was condemned by God. She says, now, if women would wear their dresses so as the filth of the street, let me start over. If women would wear their dresses so as to clear the filth of the street, an inch or two, their dress would be modest. So it would happen now, you're talking about the cow poo, the dog poo, the spit, the saliva, the urine, all of this. This dress was trailing this thing, dragging it in the house, brought about sickness and disease and death. And right, then she says now, if in walking upon the streets in the country, in the village, or in the crowded city, her long skirts sweep the dirt, the mud, and lick up tobacco spittle of all manner of filth. Careless gentlemen sometimes step on the long dresses as the ladies passed on and would tear them. And the fact of the matter is, you must understand how dark society was. As a matter of fact, I've discovered every good reform that was ever brought about in society came from God. The people thought this was their culture. Hello! This was the culture. This was the norm. Nobody saw anything wrong with it. Doctors didn't see anything wrong with it. Doctors had to labor to have their wives buy these dresses. Nobody saw anything wrong with this, not even from a medical or a scientific perspective. Only God alone himself. And as he showed Ellen White this, he said, this can't work. This cannot work. Now, number two now, what counsel did Ellen White give in regards to this dress? Well, one of the counsels she gave, because people were stubborn, the world was stubborn. She said, listen now, our dress, according to my idea, should be worn from 4 to 6 inches shorter than now worn. So she encouraged that you got to cut this stuff, man. But again, you're dealing with secular people, sinful people, rebellious people, people who were slaves to this tyrannical dictator called fashion. So the counsel was, cut it. If you're going to wear it, at least cut it. So that was the first one she saw, the extremely long one. But remember, it is Satan's plan to always push us into extreme. She says it is his plan to either push us into the fire, which is hot fire fanaticism, or push us into the water, which is cold fanaticism. We oftentimes view extremes from only the right, but you can be extreme in going too far left. Both camps are extremes, even in the churches today. And when we listen, the Pharisees were the extreme right, and we condemn the Pharisees. But what about the Sadducees? They were the extreme left. And when you look at Jesus' ministry and John the Baptist condemned both Pharisees and Sadducees. Jesus condemned both Pharisees and Sadducees because they were extreme, leading people to hell. So one was extremely too long, but then she saw a second one, and this is now this was this one now had invoked, follow me now, the condemnation of Deuteronomy 22:5. The second style of dress she saw, when she condemned it, she applied Deuteronomy 22:5. Now again, she didn't apply it. Let me say that, friends. I'm teaching this morning, friends. She didn't apply Deuteronomy 22:5 to this. You're not going to find that text condemning that. The issue was it burdened the limb. It did, right? The ribs. And it was extremely too long. That was the issue with this dress, right? If they were to cut it and trim it up and dib it up, maybe you could work with it, right? But then now we find the second dress, which was making inroads at that time, and this was the extremely, fill it in now, the extremely short dress. Or typo, the American costume dress. It's either, right? Fill it in now. This was the extremely short or the American costume dress. Well, the second dress she saw in vision. This was the extremely short. Now you say, not hold on. What do you mean extremely short? What's so short about that? We're going to show you. And why did she condemn this dress? Now, friends, follow me now, friends. Now, she wrote again in Review and Herald, October 8, 1867. She says now, the dress of the second class which passed before me was in many respects as it should be. The limbs were cladded, right? They were free from the burdens which of the tyrant fashion had imposed upon the first class. So this dress did not burden the limbs, but it had issues, right? But had gone to the extreme in the short dress. So while the limbs were not burdened as the first dress, but it was too short, right? As to disgust prejudice of good people and destroy the great measure of their own influence. Wow. The length of the dress she described is about 9 inches from the floor. So I was never good with tape measure. I tell you, boy, I'll cut your stuff wrong. But so you know what 9 inches from the floor is, right? And she comments and she says now, right? And would say that 9 inches as nearly accords with my view of the matter as I am able to express it in inches, in answer to the letter of inquiry from my sister relative to the proper length of the reform dress. So in other words, she was saying that this dress was a little bit too short. It was 9 inches too short. Now, this style of influence there's American costume taught and worn in many at our home in Dansville, New York. It does not reach the knee. This style of dress was shown to be too short. So This was a little bit too short. As you moved, it did not reach the knee. Now, we discussed the American costume in our early presentation. It was designed by Harriet Austin, right? She was an American hydrotherapist, an author, and a dress reform advocate, right? She was the designer of the American costume, right? A style of dress meant to promote women's health. Now, when Ellen White saw this, she vehemently attacked it. And I'm going to have Stanat now read what, and it was in your first lesson, how vehemently she attacked this style of dress and the text she used to condemn it. Look what she says. And I saw
that God's order has been reversed and his special directions disregarded by those who adopt the American costume.
All right, so she's condemning the American costume now. Please read now. I was referred
to Deuteronomy 22:5. The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment, for all that do so are abomination unto the Lord thy God. God would not have his people adopt the so-called reform dress. It is immodest apparel, wholly unfitted for the modest, humble followers of Christ.
All right.
There is an increasing tendency to have women in their dress and appearance.
All right, stop there. Keep on reading. Go ahead.
As near like the other sex as possible, and to fashion their dress very much like that of men. But God pronounces it abomination.
All right, now you notice she highlights two things. She says not just in dress but also in appearance. So you'd find that those who adopt the American costume would oftentimes cut their hair. The appearance would resemble masculinity, and it would not retain femininity. Then she now warns God's people with strong overtone. She says, those who feel called out, please read now.
Those who feel called out to join the movement in favor of women's rights and the so-called dress reform might as well sever all connection with the third angel's message.
All right, now, friends, one of the things, and I say this, as colored people, we are more emotionally driven. I want you to think this morning, friends. Let's think now. We're thinking now. I'm appealing to your intellect. Think now. What was just read? What movement did she tie the dress reform, the American reform costume to? Put it in the chat group if you get the answer. What movement? The what? The woman's right movement. Now, at this time frame, follow me now, the suffrage movement was birthed in America, in England, but it had made its way, there was a chapter developed in America. Now, follow me now, friends. During this time frame, women's rights, women didn't have any rights. Did you know in this time frame, if a woman married a husband, if a woman married, or if a woman came from a wealthy family, if her father had bequeathed to her an estate and she got married, she had no control over her estate. Case in point, RBG, Ruth Gaines, what's her last name? RGB, you know what I'm talking about, right? She was responsible for passing a law which states a woman can open a bank account or purchase a house without her husband, something of that nature. But it just shows you that the women were stripped of their rights. So in this time frame, women were oppressed, greatly oppressed. Ginsburg, right? Women were oppressed. And so what happened now, the women's right movement had come to the forefront. Now, I believe in women's right. I believe in equal work for equal pay. I believe in equal recognition for equal job, equal education, equal benefits. Saints, we believe in it. But the problem that Ellen White had with the woman's right, it was so radical in its protestation that it began to trample on biblical principles. And this is where I draw the line. If there is a women's right movement out there that is so vocal about the rights of women, whereas to even annul scripture, I can't go along with it. So not everything about women's right were bad, but the women's right had the American costume had attached itself to this movement. So Ellen White is now saying that the women's right, so-called in favor of the women's right, they were synonymous. So if you wore this reform dress, automatically you were champion of the radical part of the women's right. And that was where now she spoke in condemnation, not so much of the women's rights, but the radical part. Friends, I want to be clear. She was not condemning women's right movement, but the radical part of it, which sought to disannul the Holy Scriptures, right? Please read now the Spirit which attends the one.
The spirit which attends the one cannot be in harmony with the other. The scriptures are plain upon the relations and rights of men and women. Spiritualists have, to quite an extent, adopted this singular mode of dress.
So even spiritualism now, these spiritualist women had said it was a mess. And so she said now, if you feel that you are, if you feel compelled to join this movement, you cannot be a part of the third angel's message. And friends, the same is today. So here we see the extremely long, which is on the right, and the extremely short dress. Now, what made this short? We're going to discuss it. But then now, she saw a third dress that flashed before her in vision. And friends, this was what God intended. This was the blueprint, the template that God expected every Seventh-day Adventist woman to follow, not so much in fabric or color, but the principle, the governing principle. Because again, you can be modern and modest. Modernity and modesty don't have to be at odds. Follow me now, right? This was what so God is saying, you can't go too long. You can't go too short. And God, what are we supposed to do? Then God now showed her another dress, which was the template. This was called, now filled in now, was called the reform dress. The reform dress. Now I know it may look, Lizzie, I popped open, right? I know it looked dark, but don't focus so much on the fabric. We want to look at the pattern, because again, the same thing you use to make wool, you can use to make silk, right? So look at the principle. The principle. Now, Mrs. White says this now. A third class passed before me with cheerful countenance. So they were happy. Wow. And free elastic step. Their dress was the length I have described as proper, modest, and helpful. So this dress was modest and it was helpful. It cleared the filth off the street and the sidewalk a few inches under all circumstances, such as ascending and descending steps. So as they went up the step, it didn't drag, and this was perfect. This was it. This was the principle that we should follow, right? But then now the question was asked, and should a woman wear pants? And remember I told you, yes, you can wear pants. People are saying, well, I'm confused. Where did you find that? This is the counsel now. This is where I was heading now. So when she saw this dress, look what she said now. So after she began to advocate this dress, bear in mind, winter seasons were there and so forth, right? All this you need to factor in. This is Maine. This is the Northeast, right? Blizzard. Look what she says now. She further states, this is in volume 1, page 521. She says now, she states, before putting on the reform dress, the one which I advocate, right? Our sisters should obtain patterns of the what? Pants and the what? Right? Jackets worn with it. So in other words now, as this dress was made, underneath the dress was lined trousers. Pants, if you want to call it. Yes, pants. Yes, pants. Yes, there it is right there. So remember I said pants could be worn. but it should be worn according to the revelation of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. This is good news, friends. This is liberation. There it is, woman. You can put on your pants. We're not here condemning your pants. There it is, right there. Now, watch it now. Look what she said now. So now, please read now. The reform dress now.
The reform dress was introduced to Seventh-day Adventists in 1865.
Time frame it, friends. You gotta get the time. I'm hammering this date because I'm heading somewhere. Keep on reading now, right?
It was a change from the style of dresses worn at that time. The outfit consisted of a blouse,
all right,
loose jacket, full and gathered skirt, and a full and lined pants.
There it is, fully lined pants. I mean, it was lined. The pants was there. Please read now.
Which tapered and fastened about the ankles.
So it was tapered. You talk about tapered jeans now, where as it gets to the ankle, it kind of whoosh, tapered in. Right? Please read now.
The skirt was about 8 to 9 inches from the floor.
So even listen, it was so precise. Even the inches were shown to her by God. So we need that guess. Please read now from the floor.
The American costume.
Now she's now contrasting this between the American costume. Please read now.
The American costume was also worn at this time.
All right.
The skirt reached anywhere from mid-thigh to just below the knees. This American costume was a pants outfit which God pronounced an abomination.
So here we have both outfit. The differ is the length. One was more masculine. I mean, if you see them, you say, what's the difference? But if you look at them, there was a vast difference right now. Follow me now. Please read in regards.
In regards to the reform dress,
all right,
she, Ellen White, states in Testimonies for the Church, Volume 1, pages 464, 524, and 525, that was ordained by God. It was his purpose that Seventh-day Adventist sisters dress in this one pattern or style of dress always for 3 reasons.
So the pattern, you didn't say you have to go buy the dress, but as you make your dress, whatever fabric you use, silk, cotton, whatever the pattern, this was what God intended. And I'm going to show you that this can be tasteful. It can be tasteful, right? 3 reasons. 1, to distinguish them from the world and other religions. That's why God gave them this dress. So when you saw them, Seventh-day Adventists. Number 2, to promote physical and mental health, because the other dress, it burdened the system, man, mentally and physically, right? Number 3, now this is the big one now, to lessen their hold upon the world, by which the following its fashion would separate them from God. And friends, we're told that fashion is doing more to separate the people of God from himself than by any other means. So here we have 2 dresses now. Let's look at them now, Nathan, right? We don't wear dresses, but let's look at them now, right? You have 1, the reformed dress that Ellen White saw in vision. We're not going to focus on the extreme long one, because that's just like out there, right? But then we had the American costume. Look at them. Now, is there a difference between them? Of course, you can see this look more masculine. You can see masculinity in it. You know, you can see the hair cut like a dude. You know what I'm saying? Right? She looked like a dude, if you ask me. Like Dude Austin, whatever her name is, right? But then we have something cheerful. The reform dress. The length, properly covered, properly cladded. You can't lust after that unless you got issues. Serious issues, boy. But most of you see the pants. You can see the pants beneath it. So pants was underneath it because of winter. Now, friends, I'm gonna show you something. Now, this is where we have come. 1800s. Now, this is where we are today. This is where the world is today and the church. This is where we are today. What a change. Whoa. Like, first and foremost, the one in the pink, not even the wicked advocated this by itself, because there was still trousers underneath it. Not even the hell-bound world that was going to hell in a handbasket would dare advocate the pink one. The length, yes, but there was always trousers underneath. Skin of them were shown like that. This was never. Not to mention spandex. That was like unheard of. Not even the wickedest wicked, not even the devil himself was so devilish, let alone wearing the pants by itself. I'm just trying to show you from a society perspective. Society has moved. Forget the church. We're talking about the world. Society have moved far in terms of sinfulness. This was sin. This was sin back then. But we have gone further. We have, till now, we have gone to, need I say any more? All right, watch it now. Now, we're going to read again because I'm setting the stage for something this morning now, right? Please read it. Please read it. 1865.
In 1865, with the help of some sisters in Battle Creek, Ellen White designed a style of dress which was intended to retain its femininity while at the same time freeing the hips and waist from the dragon skirts. It consisted of slender trousers.
Slender, again, over and over. Pants. There was pants with this dress. Can women wear pants? Emphatically, yes. Worn like this. The principle. Please read now.
It consisted of slender trousers neatly tapering at the ankle
All
to
right.
provide warmth for the legs.
There it is. Because, friends, it was warm. It was cold. Come on now. God is not a harsh God. It's winter. Really? Come on. Yes. Please read now.
Over the trousers was a skirt reaching about the boot top and a blouse.
There it is. So there was a skirt over it or a dress. You say not strange. I'm going to show you even today in 2020, this is still worn. I'm going to show you. Keep on reading, please. This skirt.
The skirt hung by straps from the soldiers or buttoned to a waist, thus eliminated hoops, corsets, and constricting bands.
All right.
Ellen White recommended this attire, but did not insist upon it.
Mm-hmm.
It was never intended to be a uniform.
What do I mean a uniform? They were going to put them out in robes, same color, like we're going to school. Everybody looking like some Mennonite. The Amish them. That's a uniform. That's a uniform. That's not what God... Listen, you can be creative, colorful, but the principle, the governing principle must remain the same. Right? Please read, right? Mm-hmm.
It was never intended to be a uniform, but a sample of a modest and comfortable dress.
All right.
Many Adventists adopted it, but others opposed it because they were too attracted to the current styles.
Which was the American costume, friends. And friends, the same mentality exists today. God has outlined a style of dress which is helpful, which is modest, but the vast majority of us, we do not want it, male or female. We want what the world has. Now, we can want what the world have, provided what the world has is in harmony with this. And in some cases, you'll find some dress the world design which are modest and helpful, and you can purchase them. But the vast majority of them, friend, are no good. Please read now.
Unfortunately, this dress was laid aside by the people of God and was never advocated again.
Even today. Friends, some of us haven't heard about this. This is probably the first time you're seeing this, and you've been in the church for donkey years. You never heard about this teaching. You never heard about this. Laid aside, it was shredded. We don't want that. That's too goddish. It's too Christian. Now, again, these are pioneers, statues. You see it? Tapered. Women wore this. They were never ashamed of their religion. They didn't care what the world says. This was what God. This was a God thing. It protected me in winter. I could move and it was modest. Men couldn't lust after this. No, sir, Bob. And you didn't try to pull anything down when you sat down. You were covered from head to toe. Now, again, I want to emphasize, look at the pants. There are trousers, pants worn, but that was how it was worn. Even Ellen White herself. You see, being a prophet didn't mean you were exempt from it. There were no exemption to the rule. The rule is for everybody. That's the rule. Ellen White. This is Ellen White. Now the picture is kind of blurred, right? This is. Let me try to give you some who they are. She's in Oakwood. I was actually at that house. It has been preserved. Where Ellen White. As a matter of fact, be honest with you. When I went to Oka, I got a job, cleaning, I was cleaning the houses on that side of the road and the church. And it came with tuition and rooming and food. And I was vacuuming the house one day, and a guy said to me, "Do you know where you are?" I said, "No, this is Ellen White." I said, "Ellen White was in this house?" I said, "Get out of here. You mean Ellen White was in the house? And Ellen White, the same Ellen who saw God in vision?" I was like, wow. Like I felt, this is the house. It's actually called Ellen White's house, still the name, White House, right? To her left is the first African-American ordained minister, Charles Kinney, right? Some other people, Ellen White, well, look how she's dressed. She has on a dress. Ellen White always has, she loved hats, right? But notice you can see what? Trousers. So even the prophet herself realized what was good for the goose is good for the gander. She, by the grace of God, adopted the dress reform, the third class of dress she saw in vision. This is an Adventist camp meeting in the 1920s. African-American camp meeting. This is what we call regional camp meeting. Again, look how they're dressed. The picture is blurry, but right here you can see pants. You can see it right there. I mean, you can't see it, but I can see it, but it's there. Probably should have scanned it better, right? Camp meeting. So this is not something weird I'm teaching. You're the weird one. I'm not the weird. This is Adventism. This is what we believed. 1920s. This is not something new I'm teaching, some weird knot theology that he got out of some Cracker Jack box. No, this was how women dressed, and they did not feel it was works. Now, with that said now, so the dress came on the scene. Many were advocating it, some were opposing it. Time moved on. Now, watch this powerful parallel now. Question number 3 now. When Joshua was alive, and the elders who outlived Joshua, what did ancient Israel do? Follow me now. When Joshua was alive, look what ancient Israel, let's go to the book of Judges. This is a powerful thing. Judges chapter 2. Judges chapter 2. When Joshua was alive, and the elders who outlived Joshua, what did ancient Israel do? Judges chapter 2. Look at verse numbers. This is a powerful parallel now. The Bible says now, and when Joshua had let the people go, the children of Israel went every man unto his inheritance to possess the land. And the people, here it is now, the people did what? Serve the Lord all the days of who? Joshua. So once Joshua was alive, the son of Nun of the tribe of Ephraim, the successor of Moses, once he was alive, Israel was straight like an arrow. They followed the Lord with all their heart and all their mind, soul A to Z. Now, and all the days of the elders who outlived Joshua, who had seen all the great works the Lord had done for Israel. So once Joshua died, and the elders who outlived Joshua, Israel was straight. They followed the Lord in all that the Lord commanded. They even obeyed Deuteronomy 22:5. So what's the answer? They served and obeyed the Lord. Why? Because Joshua was there. Once Joshua died, the elders who outlived Joshua, the people, feared God. But then the Bible makes a downward spiral turn. Verse 8, same book, same chapter, different verse. And Joshua, the son of Nun, the son of the Lord, died, being 110 years old. And they buried him in the borders of the inheritance of the land, Timnath, on the mount of Ephraim, on the north side of the hill Garash. Watch it now. And also that generation, now 40 years in the Bible's generation, were gathered unto their fathers. And there, so the elders who outlived Joshua, they had died. Now look what happened now. And there arose a what? Another generation right there after them, who knew not the Lord, nor the works which he had done. And guess what? Once Joshua's dead, the elders are dead, they went buck wild. They partied like a rock star, brothers and sisters. Watch the text now. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and they served Baalim. Pt.4, Baalim. Baalim 12 says, and they forsook the Lord of the God of their fathers, which were brought them out of the land of Egypt, and they followed the other gods, plural, right? Baal-peor is one of them, right? Isn't that? And the gods of the people that were run about them, and they bowed themselves down unto them and provoked God to anger. And one of the gods that they resorted back to, had to be from deductive reasoning, was Baal-peor, the Moabite androgynous deity. Once he was alive, they wouldn't dare violate Moses' text. They were straight like my pants them for lack of word, right? Once Joshua died, the elders who had seen, they were the watchdog in Israel. The people feared God. But once Joshua died, the elders died, a new generation. Brothers and sisters, follow me now. 1865, Ellen White was in mid-age now, about in her 30s, cracking somewhere. The dress reform, she advocated by a large majority, people advocated it. Some bucked it, but the vast majority believed it. 1915 came on the scene now. The dress reform was still there. What happened in 1915? Ellen White died. Follow me now, brothers and sisters. She died. But 1920s, as we just look, 1920s, let me back up, since this, we're teaching this morning now. Let me back up. 1920s, camp meeting, it was still being advocated. So there were people who outlived Ellen White who advocated, the elders, they taught their congregation, pastors taught that. The pastors taught women how to dress, elders, mothers in Israel. It was not a problem, brothers and sisters, in Israel, even though Ellen White died in 1915. But friends, 40, now, this is profound now. 40 years is a generation. If you add 40 to 1915, what do you get? 1955, and something prophetic happened in the church in 1955. 1955 came on the scene. The dress was being advocated. But in 1955, a book came out that shook Adventism to its core, questioned our belief, and from 55 on, the dress reform was never advocated again until today. Some of you guys are hearing it, and some ministries, by the grace of God, have advocated it. The book was Question and Doctrine, this book right here. 55. Written by the Adventist Church in response to Martin and Barnhouse accusing us of being a cult. And they said, Adventists, you have some funny doctrine. One of them you guys have is this thing about the atonement. It was on the cross. No, it wasn't. So we altered a few. It's in the book. Saints, I read the book. It's in here. I can show you what we altered, right? Get the book. What we altered, because we didn't want to become a cult. And in altering our belief, we also altered our dress. It's in the book, friends. What a powerful parallel, friends. And from 55 on, things took a downward turn in Adventism, friends. Just like Joshua. Today you ask the average Adventist about the dress reform. What? We don't hear that. Where you get that from? They call it shepherd's rod teaching. That's the ignorant way of disregarding things. That's serious now. Now, please read look what Ellen White now says now in Review 1881. In every age,
in every age, a majority of the professed followers of Christ have disregarded those precepts which enjoin self-denial.
Disregarded. Deny yourself. What else?
And humility.
Which
require modesty and simplicity of conversation, deportment, and apparel.
So the vast majority don't want it. In every age. Watch this thing now. Please read now. The result?
The result ever being the same. Departure from the teachings of the gospel leads to the adoption of the fashions, customs, and principles of the world. Vital godliness gives place to a dead formalism.
Lord have, that's a formalism. Please read, she says now, the presence.
The presence and power of God, withdrawn from those world-loving circles,
Woo!
are found with a class of humble worshipers who are willing to obey the teachings of the sacred word. Through successive generations, this course has been pursued.
Mercy.
One after another, different denominations have risen and, yielding their simplicity, have lost in a great measure their early power.
And friends, let me say this issue of dress is not just an Adventist thing. It's a denominational thing. Every generation has moved further and further and further from what their predecessors have taught. Until today, brothers and sisters, the style of dress in the Adventist church makes you want to vomit. It evokes sexual thoughts in the minds of weak men who some of them eat is chicken foot and cow soup. And that don't help, because we're told when we largely consume flesh, the lower passions are strengthened. Now, so this is the question now that you all want. It took me 4 lessons to get to this question. And you should know the answer. Number 4, what about females wearing pants, pantsuit, sweat bottoms, scrubs? You know, I shouldn't even have to give you the answer. I shouldn't really have, but some of us, you got to be spoon-fed. I'm going to spoon-feed you this morning. I'm going to do that. What about scrubs, female pants, pantsuit, sweat bottoms? How do we harmonize? Well, there's nothing to harmonize with them. If you follow what the pattern is, it should be clear. Now, Kamala Harris, Vice President-elect, history. And she's historic for many things. One of the first to perform the first lesbian wedding in California. I can show you the video. 2 women, I now pronounce you man and woman, and they kissed. I can show you the video. She did that. That was one of the first that she did. Now, friends, you know Charles Spurgeon said, of 2 evils, him said choose none. I'll let you think on that one. Let you think on. You think Trump is bad? Huh! You haven't seen bad yet. And he's bad. Kamala Harris. I don't know her spiritually. I'm not here condemning her. I don't know her. Only a fool condemn what he doesn't know. What little bit I do know is what CNN has put forth about her credentials and so forth, and her Asian, Indian descent, and her father, Jamaican, and so forth. But I don't know her. So I'm not here condemning her. I'm just simply trying to extrapolate some talking points. A very powerful and influential woman, even being the first African-American woman of color vice president-elect in the history of these United States. When she was about to make her announcement speech, look what she wore. As a matter of fact, if you Google Kamala Harris, I don't think you'll ever see her in a dress. Never. Pure pantsuit she has on. It's not even the American costume she has on. She has on the extreme to American costume. Now I know you see people who are weak-minded, people who are earthly, they can't handle this. You see, you love the world. That's why in your heart right now, you're angry, you're mad right now, because there's the great controversies brewing in your mind. You're saying, how dare you? I'm trying to make a point. Watch this now, friends. This is what she wore. Now, by society's definition, this is a mannish attire. By the Western culture, the Western civilization, this would be a mannish attire. In the early 1800s, not even the American costume was so bold. And again, I think if God condemned the American costume, I'm not here condemning her. Friend, let me be clear. I don't know her. It's not even about her. This thing is bigger than her. 70, she's almost out of here by the reason of strength. It's not about her. This thing is bigger than Kamala Harris. It's a principle I'm trying to invoke. Now, she wore white. She wore white. Why did she wear white? To honor the suffrage movement. The suffrage movement was in favor of women's right, but they were radical. And that is why, let me go back now. When you go back to Ellen White, when you read Ellen White's counsel, she talked about those who, she says now, those who feel those who feel called out to join the movement in favor of women's rights, the suffrage movement, and the so-called just reform. So she tied women's right, suffrage movement, American costume, all in one. And what Kamala Harris wore, even CNN commented on it. The first thing caught my mind, and I'm familiar with the suffrage movement. I'm really familiar because I read about it, right? She was honoring the suffrage movement. Again, friends, not everything about the suffrage movement was wrong. They really wanted women to get equal pay. It was bad. But then, like everything else, the devil got involved and they went to the extreme when they began to now violate scripture. And that's where Ellen White said, I can't go along with you, even though I'm a woman. All right, so she wore that. And she was speaking volume with her dress. Remember we learned last week, audibles, this speaks volume. Look at her with the president. I mean, same, difference in sexes. And there's an undergird current behind this, And then you had this young lady right here. She had on some sneakers and a suit on. It was like, okay, what in the world is going on? But it speaks. Now, friends, I am neither Democrat nor Republican. I am neither. And I try to take the good from both parties and just live by them. But the Democrats are very loose, very liberal in their first thing that they thank. He thanked every LGBT, straight, everybody they thanked. Now, friends, and again, I want to emphasize, God does not hate homosexuals. He hates homosexuality. Let's be clear. Let's be very, very clear. But we know what's going on. Both of them had on the same attire. Now, watch this now, friends. So the question, what about pants? Pants can be worn, but it cannot be worn by this, let alone pantsuit. I don't know how you're going to fit that one. Please read now. It should be noted.
It should be noted that there are cultures today, especially in Asia, where trousers are worn more by women than by men.
That is true, and you have to factor that. Please read now.
In the Western culture, for several centuries, trousers have been associated with men.
Listen, do you know as far back as the 80s in Jamaica, women never wore pants? As far back as the mid-80s, if a woman wore pants, them say, them they are bad girl, bad woman them there, for lack of a word. Mothers never dressed their daughters in pants. It was always skirts and dress. And they never even had anything underneath it. They may have on some tights, and the tights they had on was catch at your thighs. They never had on the spandex all the way down. But even society had set the stage that women wear dress, man wear pants and suits. Please read now.
In spite of their popularity, pants in Western culture are still seen as the most visible adaptation of men's clothing by women.
It is. This is fact. Please read now.
This means that pants still have a masculine connotation and do not affirm femininity. Thus, as a general rule in Western countries, if pants are going to be worn by Adventist Christian women, they must follow the counsels given to us in the spirit of prophecy.
There it is, friend. There it is. I'm not even going to comment. If it's going to be worn, it must be worn by the counsels given to us by God to his servant Ellen White. Anything else, you're putting yourself in trouble. Listen to me now. Okay, not. What about exercise? What about it? I got to go walk. I got to go run. I'm running a frock. Big old pants. You know, the Orthodox Jews, we live in Florida, and in our this is actually this complex was a Jewish complex. When we moved here, my mother moved in this complex, and we've lived here, and so we bought a place here and so forth. It was purely Caucasian people and Jews. And the synagogue is around the corner. The whole thing is Jewish. And even today, when I go out to exercise in the morning, I see Jewish women, Orthodox, and it's amazing how they dress when they are going to exercise. And this is how they dress. Now, these are Orthodox women, not the one in the middle. You see how they're dressed? They're exercising. You see what they have on? These are Orthodox Jewish. Of course, the material is designed so it can stretch. But by and large, they still believe what Moses said. And by the way, the next time I see a Jew, I'm going to ask him about that text, and I'm going to report to you what he tells me. Why do the women still wear that? These are Orthodox Jews. Look how this doesn't look bad. It doesn't look, weird. It's colorful. It's modern. She got some, Saucony's on them. Some, what is the new Saucony? It's expensive sneaker. But look at the material. Dry fit, Under Armour. It looks modest, and you can move in that. Another Jewish lady, she came first. Lord have mercy. In her skirt. You didn't hear that once. In her skirt, she came first. Do you think some Jews, first of all, the Jews see us as Gentile. The Jews see us as Gentile. You hear me? I remember one time, man, I was trying to hand, there was a Jewish boy, and I'm a Jamaican, I'm a friendly guy, man. I like to mingle with people, man. And one day, we sat down, I penetrated this circle. And we began to talk, and he was a very smart young man, very, very smart. He always wears a little thing to school. And we got to talk and so forth and so forth. And one day I asked him about dating. And he said he cannot marry anybody else but a Jew. And I'm like, not even if she's pretty, no. And I said, so what if you got a sister and your sister like me and I like her? What then? You'd have to convert to Judaism. And then he says, first and foremost, we tend to marry with our own anyway, so you ain't gonna marry no Jamaican, you ain't gonna see no Jew marry no Jamaican. That's what this guy told me. This was very brilliant, I don't know, probably a doctor today. But the point is, you think he cared what some Gentile thought about him? Do you think he cared what some hellbound Gentile thought? Do you think they care what some Gentile think? Do you think they care what from their perspective, them are the chosen one. Everybody else is gonna be lost. They don't care what the world thinks. They're going to dress according to what their religion teaches. Another example. She's moving, Lord. This woman is sprinting. This ain't. Look what she got on. Spandex, which you can wear, not by itself, but this woman got on a dress. And the material is flexible. What am I trying to say, brothers and sisters? If there is a will, there is a way to glorify God. We don't have to be weird and funny. No, we're not calling for that. Another one, 7 months pregnant. She needed to stay home. No, she's out. Again, tights, big belly, her daughter, little Jewish lady, got them skirt on, teaching the daughter, mother teaching. They don't care what the Gentile, they don't care what they don't care less what the world thinks. She running. Another Jewish lady at the gym. And by the way, you can buy these clothes online, You buy everything online, don't you? You go to Amazon, you get everything on Amazon. You need to start, if you want, you can find a way. We will be without excuse. Then, that's the Jews. What about the Muslims? The Muslims also, in their creed, women have to wear a certain kind of attire at all times. Principle. This is exercising. Lord have mercy, Jesus. What in the world? You see that? You see the tights on the bottom, that you can work with that. The principle. What about going to the beach, not? Look at this. That's beach attire. These are Jewish ladies. Look what they got on. Dry fit material, spandex underneath. This don't look bad, is it not? It's colorful, it looks modern. It don't look like, it definitely don't look like, Lizzie's eyes popped open. I saw this one. He said, Lizzie, Lord have mercy, Daddy, I can't wear that. Are you crazy? No. The principle we're using. The principle. We're not using the cloth, dark fabric. No, no, no. But this is colorful. Look at this, friend. Come on. Come on. Talk. Work with the system. Work with the thing, man. Look at that. That can be worn. Right? It can be worn. Here are some other ones I find. And I'm not even a guy. I'm a girl. I'm not even, I don't wear this kind of stuff. So it doesn't, but I'm just showing you, right? Look at that. These are Jewish ladies. There's the thing. Aquimodesty.com. Look at that. This is beach attire. Look at that. Look at that. They don't care what the world thinks. They're going to the beach, but they're dressed modest. Now, friends, aquamodesta.com. Right? I mean, you can find it. Look at this one now. This blew my mind now. Look at this compared to this. This is what we wear. This is what most Adventists wear to the beach. Look what they wear. These are Jews. What in the world? God have mercy. Now, look at this now. Look at what women wear to the beach, Nathan, in 1864. Remember, 1865 was when the dress came out. Look what they wore to the beach in 1864. Bam! Nathan fainted. Look at that. Came out and said, Elizabeth, going to the beach. Put this on. He said, yeah. You said, like, no, I'm sick. But friends, look where society has gone. And forget the world. The world is going to be lost. We're talking about the church, brothers and sisters. Again, we talk about reality. In the 1800s, women climbed mountain in dresses. Look at that, Nathan. Hiking. Women horsebacks in dress in the 1800s. Women played tennis. Tennis lovers out there in dress. Women rode bicycles in dress. Friends, this today by itself may be good for the world, but this, as it stands right here on females, is a direct violation of Deuteronomy 22:5. Hey, you need not shoot the preacher, man. I am just trying to help you out. I am concerned about your decrepit soul, brothers and sisters. This by itself should not be worn by Seventh-day Adventists. Should not. Friends, you can argue all you want. It's not going to change the fact God has given us a blueprint, a model. And this is extreme. This is extreme. This is not in center. This is way off key. And if this is what you're wearing to work, listen, you need to go and work it out with you and God. There's in the nursing field, nurses wear dresses, skirts, if you really want to. If it's just your religion, you can find some scrubs made out of material, and you can, if you really want to please God, you can. Right? What about unisex now? Unisex. What about unisex, which is a moral incongruity? Anyway, so now please read now. Unisex now. What's the driving force behind the unisex apparel? The driving force?
The driving force behind the unisex fashion of our time is the feminist vision of a new genderless society, commonly known as the androgynous society.
There it is now, right?
The term androgynous combines the Greek words andros, which means male, and June, female. It describes an individual that integrates both male and female characteristics.
All right.
Feminists see this utopian genderless society as imperative in order to achieve the liberation of women from their submissive role.
And this is right where the extreme woman's right were. Lose this Judean bondage woman staying home with your children. You're crazy. We're going to work. Solidarity. That was the radical part of it, brothers and sisters. Please read the unisex fashion. Please read now.
The unisex fashion, which became popular in America in the 60s, reflects the woman's attempt to achieve equality with men. In her book, Historic Costume, Catherine Lester wrote about the emergent unisex fashion during the 60s.
Listen to what she says now.
With many women wearing pants and many men enjoying more adventurous clothes and hairstyles. With many women wearing pants and many men enjoying more adventurous clothes and hairstyles, Fashions for both sexes became similar.
Did you hear that, friends? In the 60s, this was a movement. The prophet had died, brothers and sisters, 1915. Another generation. The trend?
This trend, termed unisex, went with the move toward sexual and economic equality of men and women,
Here it is now.
and the blurring of the traditional male and female roles in society. The notorious Dr. Mary Walker
Look her up.
dressed in men's clothes all her life and promoted the equality of the sexes by founding a female colony called Adamless Eve. Mercy.
I need to faint. Adamless Eve. Lord have mercy. Please read.
To prove that the anatomy of a woman was similar to that of a man.
Watch this now, friends. Now, please read.
In spite of its popularity, the attempt to eliminate gender distinctions in clothes as well as in roles is clearly condemned in the Bible. The scriptures teach respect for gender distinctions in dress as well as in functional roles because they are part of the order of creation.
And order is heaven's first law. Please read now. It is not.
It is not funny for a man to dress and adorn himself as a woman or vice versa, because God intended that there should be a clear distinction between the outward appearance of men and that of women.
So Martin Lawrence and Sinead and Big Mama Loose by Tyler Perry is not funny. It is sin. And if you have these movies in your house, you need to burn them. It's an abomination. Fools make a mock at sin, the Bible says. It's not funny. It is sick and sadistic. It is diabolical and damnable and devilish. Historically, clothes have served to define our masculinity or femininity. Clothes not only define our identity, you are what you wear, but also help us to develop our new identity. You become what you wear. This means that when we blur the gender distinction in clothing, we generally lose our male or female identity and experience an identity crisis. And friends, we are in an identity crisis. Follow me now. In 1867, look now, 2 years after 1865, the time frame is critical, right? Ellen White wrote now, God designed that there should be a plain distinction between the dress of men and women. Plain. There should be no ambiguity. No like, I don't know, none of that. And has considered the matter of sufficient importance to give explicit even to the length direction in regard to it. For the same dress worn by both sexes cause confusion and increase of crime. But it's confusion. And today, friends, it's confusion, confusion, confusion. The whole world is involved in confusion. As we wind down, number 5 now. God is not the author of what? 1 Corinthians 14:33, Paul says, for God is not the author of confusion, but the God of peace in all churches. So he's not the author. So then who is the author of confusion? The devil himself, friends. The whole world today is confused. The church is confused. Confusion. Friends, this is confusion. Look at that. What is that man doing in a skirt and high heels? And you go to the catwalk in Paris, that's the new trend coming off now. It just hasn't come to America and it's making inroads. LeBron James with a $50,000 female purse and Dwayne Wade, the femininity. And people are seeing this, talk about its style. Ain't no style. It's an abomination. This by itself is not of God. It's confusion. There it is, friends. Look at that. Why is Kanye West in a skirt? Baphomet. That's what it is. With his Yeezy sneakers. $3,000 for a pair of shoes. Is you crazy? No, that's why he had his issues. Because she says it increases crime. And him with his pedophilia issue. Him should get like a zillion years in prison if you ask me. He shouldn't even see the light of day if I had anything to do with it. This is where we are, brothers and sisters. And in the African American community, this was shunned. We didn't go there, but now, boy, we're near the end, and the devil, everything is hanging out. Friends, it's confusion. That is why for a Seventh-day Adventist who talk about no three angels message to be in no ambiguous dress, you don't know nothing about no three angels message. Because the second angels come out of Babylon, that's confusion. Come out of confusion. Come out of the confused version about it. And what I'll ask last Sabbath. Leave the funny version alone and the funny style of dress. You cannot say you embrace the three angels messages and you're wearing pants to church. I'm gonna tell you, I gotta tell you the truth. Or pantsuit. No, you cannot do that. It's confusion. Now you're struggling, but friends, I gotta tell you the truth. I gotta tell you the truth. I'm not here beating upon you. I got my own issues too. I had to alter my exercise apparel myself. I'm working with it by the grace of God. I'm working, trying to get myself cladded properly. Friends, the whole world today is in confusion. Watch it now. Confusion begins in the home. When children can no longer tell who is supposed to wear the pants, mom or dad. In many homes, there is no longer an external, visible difference between sexes. Everybody wearing in the house. It ought not be, brothers and sisters. As for me and my house, Joshua says, we're going to serve the Lord. Confusion, even in the schools. Look at our schools. Look at what the children wear to school. My God, have mercy. How can a leader, a principal, an administrator allow young girls to wear these tight pants? That's even a double wickedness. How can we allow them to wear these things to school? One parent called me, sent one down there. She said, I went to speak to the principal. She said, I said, Mr. Principal, my daughter can't wear this. You know what the man had the nerve to tell her? He said, do you want the whole school to appease your daughter? She was like, okay, am I in an Adventist school? Are we on the same page? Are we all Adventists here? And what happened? The daughter felt so, and it's so, they said, God going to beat them with the belt in the man. I'm telling you, man. And I said, I'm praying that God remove them with death, sickness, radical now. Because they're leading people astray. You know what? The mother came home and spoke to the daughter. The daughter is a mature young lady. And the principal said, listen, if you want to wear skirts, go ahead. You can wear them. The daughter decided, okay, they're going to wear skirts to the academy, this particular academy. The first day she wore it, she said, Pastor, not the amount of eyes was on my daughter. The peer pressure, she felt like the whole world was caving in on her. She said, I had to pull my daughter out of the academy. Yeah. And you know where she sent her? To a Sunday Christian school where all of them wear skirts and it has to be a proper length. She had to send her kids back in Babylon. And you know, the girl is she's strong down there because you're not going to come up on a Sunday. The girl is a mature young lady. And doctrinally, she holds her own. But you can't put her in public school. That's the hand to the wolf. The mother had to extract her daughter out of one of this renowned academy down here. Because the principal said, and the pressure, and I know how it is. These kids are not like Daniel like that, man. The peer pressure alone, get them on medication. They start taking medication. Confusion, it's pure androgynous in the schools. Pure, and it leads to sexual promiscuity. I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, and everybody's coming out of the closet now. Confusion in the workplace, where many occupations, women are dressed like men and are expected to perform the same physical strength as men. But the fact remains that women are not men. There are biological, psychological, and physical differences from them. And let me say something profound. And the weak mind and the feminists can't handle this. Women and men and women are equal in being, but not in function. Let me say it again. Men and women are equal in being, but not in function. I can't have a baby. Neither do I want to have a baby either. Confusion is also present in the remnant church, where some women wear pants and pantsuit to church like men, and not surprisingly, some of them serve as woman elder. I would never call a woman an elder in the church unless I'm referring to the elderly. You will never hear me affirm no woman as no elder in no church. Sister so-and-so, I call her by her God-given name. I'm not going to compromise with my integrity. And shame on you who do that. God going to beat you with the belt. Because those who know better, you better do better. Friends, as Christians, we should be thankful to God for our masculine and feminine gender He has given to us. Follow me now as I close now. A woman should be thankful that God has made her a woman. Remarkable, different from man, and yet of great value in God's plan for family, society, and the world. Similarly, a man should be thankful that God has made him remarkable, different from a woman, yet of great value in God's plan for the family, society, and for the world. Friends, I've given you 4 lessons, and I've done my best. I am no fanatic. Far from it. We don't no extreme thing in this house. We're not going to the left nor the right. But I warn you as judgment-bound beings. Hear me well. You may want to jot this reference down. We are told, volume 5, 247, the church may warn, may counsel, and admonish, but it cannot compel any to take a right course. Whosoever persists in disregarding the word of God must bear his own burden, answer to God for himself, and suffer the consequence of his course. If you are a free moral agent, and if you feel that God has changed, and that old text written by Moses was ancient, and that androgyny or androgynous is the way of life, you are, because of a free moral being, you can do as you please. But rest assured, as a man soweth, that shall you also reap. Unless we think that the Bible is a little funny book and there's no consistency in it and no harmony, John reminds us in Revelation 21:27, and there shall in no wise enter in anything that defileth. These are people who knowingly neither worketh abomination or maketh a lie, but those who are written in the Lamb's book of life. Said the angel, can such enter heaven? Now friends, listen, you must understand when this was written, let me just put some contextual. When she said, can such enter heaven, she was making a reference, brothers and sisters, can such enter heaven, making reference to this, the American costume. Can such enter heaven? And if such can enter heaven knowingly, then God help the rest. Can such enter heaven? Let me get to my last slide. Said the angel, no, never. Tell them the hope they now possess is in vain unless they speedily repent and obtain salvation. They must perish. Spurgeon says, the path of obedience may now be the path of sorrow, but in the end, it will be the path of safety. What I say to you, I say to myself. If any man hath an ear, man in a generic sense means mankind, male or female, hath an ear this morning, let him hear what the Spirit saith to the churches. May God have mercy on us all.